Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. US-China trade war reignites. Tariffs, tech curbs and port fees deepen rift, putting Trump-Xi epic meet in doubt. Tens of thousands of Palestinians returning to shattered Gaza homes following the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches two big farm schemes with outlay of $4 billion US, urges the farmers to boost production. ICC Women's World Cup heats up. India to take on Australia in Visakhapatnam on Sunday. The US-China trade war has reignited with full force, plunging global markets into uncertainty. President Trump's administration has announced sweeping 100% tariffs on all Chinese imports, escalating tensions over rare earth exports and tech access. China responded with steep port fees on US vessels, prompting Washington to mirror the move. As both sides tighten controls on critical technologies, the fate of the upcoming Trump-Xi summit hangs in the balance, casting doubt on any near-term thaw in the relations. Here's the report. The renewed US-China trade war under President Trump's current term was sparked by Beijing's curbs on rare earth exports vital for tech and defense, which Washington views as a strategic threat. Presidents Trump and Xi were set to meet at the APEC summit in South Korea in late October, but Trump may cancel that meeting.
No, I haven't canceled, but I don't know that we're going to have it. But I'm going to be there regardless, so I would assume we might have it. But that was out of the blue, right? Out of the blue, they came up with this whole import-export concept, and nobody knew anything about it.
In response, the Trump administration will impose a 100% tariff on all Chinese imports from November 1st. Atop existing 30% duties, and they will tighten export controls on key US software to limit China's tech access. The standoff has spooked markets.
I think today is a hiccup, but it does tell us that maybe negotiations are not going very well, and it may extend into 2026. Liberation Day was April 2nd, early April, right? We had kicked the can down the road earlier. It was July 9th and then August 1st, and now it seems to be indefinite, and that is a worry for the markets.
These moves mark one of the most aggressive trade stances in modern US history, risking a near total freeze in bilateral trade.
What else besides software could be on the table in terms of export?
This was just a response to something that they did, and they didn't really aim it at us. They aimed it at the whole world. The whole world is subject to it. So I thought it was very, very bad. But we have many things, including a big thing is airplane. They have a lot of Boeing planes, and they need parts and lots of things like that, Steve.
Both the United States and China will officially begin imposing new port tariffs on each other's vessels beginning October 14, 2025. Trump has cited national security concerns to justify his tariffs and controls. The tit-for-tat dynamic echoes the earlier trade war from his first term, but this time with even higher stakes and broader economic impact. Bureau Report, DD India. The US government shutdown is now in its 11th day, with growing fallout across agencies. President Trump has triggered mass layoffs, blaming Democrats for the budget impasse. Meanwhile, a newly elected congresswoman is also caught in the deadlock, unable to take office. Let's look at the deepening crisis.
As the US government shutdown drags on, President Donald Trump has initiated layoffs of thousands of federal employees, blaming Democrats for the impasse. Job cuts are underway at key agencies, including the Treasury, Health and Human Services. IRS, Education, Commerce and Homeland Security's Cybersecurity Division.
And it'll be Democrat-oriented because we figure, they started this thing, so they should be Democrat-oriented. It'll be a lot, and we'll announce the numbers over the next couple of days, but it'll be a lot of people, all because of the Democrats. I mean, they want to give $1.5 trillion to people that came into the country illegally. More important than that, because we all have a big heart. We want people to be taken care of, but
Around 300,000 federal civilian workers were already expected to exit this year as part of a downsizing campaign announced by Trump earlier. Trump accuses Democrats of blocking government funding over a dispute involving health insurance subsidies under the Affordable Care Act. Democrats argue Republicans are responsible for the shutdown's fallout, including job losses and service disruptions. Labor unions have filed lawsuits to stop the layoffs, calling them illegal during a shutdown. A court hearing is set for October 15th. Political gridlock extends beyond Congress. Democrat Representative-elect Adelita Grizalva from Arizona's 7th District has not been sworn in, citing the shutdown and pointing out that other newly elected members were sworn in within 24 hours.
I was stopped at the security line because I had to wait until someone would escort me in because I'm essentially a tourist in DC. I have a door with my nameplate on it, the office that used to be my dad's, and now my nameplate is there and the doors are locked. And right now, because of the shutdown, I can't even get into the building without an escort. I have no staff, cannot provide any constituent services.
The layoffs are primarily affecting furloughed workers, with thousands already receiving notices. Some Republicans have voiced concern over the cuts. Meanwhile, Trump has frozen billions in infrastructure funding for Democrat-led states. Now in its 11th day, the shutdown is causing widespread disruption. Federal employees are working without pay, and active duty troops face missing their next paycheck. Rabindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
Well, thousands of displaced Palestinians returned to a devastated Gaza city on Saturday, on the second day of a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Under a ceasefire deal proposed by the US President Donald Trump, Hamas will hand over 47 remaining hostages, living and dead, and in exchange, Israel will release 250 prisoners serving life sentences and possibly 1,700 Gazans detained since the war broke out.
Displaced Palestinians could be seen making their way back to their devastated homes as a ceasefire between Israel and Palestinian group Hamas appeared to be holding.
We used to live here. The first floor was hit and destroyed, and the second one too. And you can see, it is now just a pile of rubble. The thing we want most is for the bloodshed to stop. That is what truly brings us joy. We don't want any coupons. We don't want anything else.
According to the agreement, after the hostages are handed over, Israel will free 250 Palestinians serving long sentences in its prisons and 1,700 detainees captured during the war. On Saturday, preparations were underway at Free military base in southern Israel ahead of the expected hostage release. US President Donald Trump said on Friday the hostages are due to come back on Monday.
And as you know, on Monday, the hostages come back. They're getting them now. I mean, they're getting them now. They're in some pretty rough places under earth. They're in some pretty rough places where only a few people know where they are, in some cases. So they're getting them, and they're also getting the bodies, approximately 28 bodies.
In Tel Aviv, Israelis gather in Hostages Square on Saturday ahead of the expected release.
I feel that people of Israel were with me, embraced me, and loved me for 2 years, more than 2 years. All the organizations that were here were truly with us. There's nothing like the uplifting spirit of a nation like this, without invitation, without anything. I'm actually getting emotional now, because I feel that everyone here simply couldn't do anything else but be here.
Israel's government ratified the ceasefire with Hamas. The Israeli military said on Friday that a ceasefire agreement had been activated at 900 GMT. World Food Programme WFP said it has begun scaling up its operation in Gaza. World Food Programme in a statement said that in the first 3 months, as part of its general food distributions, WFP aims to feed up to 1.6 million people, roughly 320,000 families, with bread, wheat flour, and family food parcels. WFP will scale up the numbers of bakeries it currently supports from 10 to 30 in coming weeks, dramatically increasing access to fresh bread. On Saturday, 8 trucks were seen moving through Khan Yunus. According to ceasefire agreement, humanitarian aid will be ramped up into Gaza and permitted to travel freely between North and South Gaza on the two main roads. Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India.
Days after stepping down, France is back in political deja vu. The former Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, has been reinstated as the Prime Minister. A surprise move by President Emmanuel Macron aimed at breaking weeks of political gridlock. Here's the report.
Days after his resignation, Sébastien Lecornu was reinstated as French Prime Minister. President Emmanuel Macron made the announcement late on Friday after meeting leaders of all major parties, except those from the far right and far left. On returning to office, Lecornu urged political parties to set aside differences and pass a crucial budget by year-end, key to curbing France's growing fiscal deficit.
I don't have an agenda. I have no other ambition than to get out of this situation, which is objectively very difficult for everyone. So I am setting myself a fairly clear mission, and then either the political forces will help me and we will work together to achieve it, or they will not. This is how we ensure that on December 31st, there is a budget for social security and a budget for the state, and that we would have dealt with some emergencies.
But pressure mounted on Saturday on the newly reappointed premier to get an austerity budget approved. Several parties have already threatened to topple him. Lecornu's return has sparked outrage across the political spectrum and vows to block his government at the first opportunity. With France mired in political deadlock and ballooning public debt, Lecornu pledged to build a broader, more stable government, promising to include ministers not imprisoned by the parties.
This government must be free, and that is to say, it must have a partisan sensibilities, but it must not be imprisoned by the parties. This government must be free, including with regard to the next presidential election.
On the streets, the reaction has been one of confusion and frustration. Many French citizens say Lecornu's surprise comeback reflects the deepening uncertainty in the country's politics.
I don't really see where we are going. Anyway, if we are going anywhere, we don't know. It's total chaos. We have to accept it. That's how it is. Our president is in charge, and well, he is in charge and he is making a mess. It amuses him, so much the better. In any case, the French people's opinion is completely disregarded.
As France braces for another round of parliamentary battles, all eyes are now on Lecornu and whether his second shot at leadership can last longer than the first. Bureau Report, DD India.
Still to come here on DD India News Hour. India to host global peacekeeping conclave with 30+ military chiefs in New Delhi next week. October 11 marks International Day of the Girl Child, celebrating voices and leadership worldwide. Birth anniversary of Loknayak Jayaprakash Narayan is being observed.
Construction isn't just about steel and concrete. It can also be about restoring a hillside or creating homes that can protect both us and our planet.
This wattle and daub technique is called skin and bone. of a structure. So here we have used bamboos cut into strips and weaved together as made as a panel. In that cap we fill it with mud and make it as a skin for it.
The trucks would just come by, dump the illegal waste and leave. Then we got some people to help and our Anand One urban forest team came into existence. Together we must have cleared about 30 to 40 tons of garbage out of this place.
One of the reasons for this structure that we have created here is to try and see if we can halt or reduce the rate of erosion. This is like a natural embankment for the forest land.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. In a landmark push to India's agriculture and allied sectors, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today launched schemes worth around $4 billion during a special Krishi program in New Delhi. DD India's Siddharth Bharadwaj reports.
At a time when Bharat is reaching new milestones, shining bright and making its mark on the global stage, its path towards Atmanirbharta or self-reliance is giving further momentum to the nation's progress, aligning with the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047 or Developed India by 2047. The agriculture and allied sectors are playing a pivotal role as Bharat inches closer to becoming the world's third largest economy. In a landmark push to empower these sectors, bolster rural infrastructure and bring prosperity to the lives of farmers, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched, inaugurated, laid the foundation and dedicated various schemes and projects, over 42,000 crore Indian rupees on Saturday in New Delhi.
आज देश का मिजाज ऐसा बन गया है कि वो कुछ उपलब्धियों से ही संतुष्ट नहीं होता है। हमें विकसित बनता है तो फिर हर क्षेत्र में लगातार बेहतर करते ही रहना होगा, सुधार करना ही करना होगा। इसी सोच का परिणाम है पीएम धन धान्य कृषि योजना।
Among the key initiatives launched were two transformative schemes in the agriculture sector: the PM Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana and the Mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses. With an outlay of 24,000 crore Indian rupees, the PM Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana aims to revolutionize agriculture across 100 districts. The scheme focuses on enhancing agricultural productivity, promoting crop diversification and encouraging sustainable practices. It also ensures the availability of both short-term and long-term credit for farmers. The Mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses, launched with a budget of 11,440 crore Indian rupees, is designed to boost pulse production, expand cultivation areas, strengthen the value chain and minimize post-harvest losses. Additionally, the Prime Minister inaugurated and dedicated projects worth over 5,450 crore in agriculture, animal husbandry, fisheries and food processing sectors. He also laid the foundation stone for projects amounting to rupees 815 crore. During the program, the Prime Minister also distributed certificates to farmers and interacted with those engaged in pulse cultivation who have directly benefited from various schemes by the government. Union Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Minister of State Bhagirath Chaudhary was also present on the occasion. With these initiatives, Bharat's agriculture sector is poised to take giant strides forward. It also reflects Prime Minister Narendra Modi's unwavering commitment to the welfare of farmers and their families. Siddharth Bharadwaj report for DD India.
Two leaders of India achieved saintly status during their lifetimes. One was Mahatma Gandhi, the other Jayaprakash Narayan. As a result, when JP returned to active politics in 1974 with the cry, "Leave the throne, the people are coming," the entire nation followed him like a saint. Here's the journey of Loknayak.
With his thoughts, philosophy, lofty ideals and unique personality, Loknayak Jayaprakash Narayan not only shaped the nation's course but also awakened the imagination of the common man. The Total Revolution, also known as the JP movement, was the first major mass movement in independent India, shaking Indira Gandhi's government, giving birth to a new generation of leaders, and striving to bring honesty to political life. Jayaprakash Narayan was born on 11th of October 1902 in Sitabdiara village in Saran district, Bihar. J.P. Narayan left his village at the age of 9 to study at Collegiate School in Patna. In 1920, at the age of 18, he married Prabhavati Devi. He went to the United States in 1922 for higher education. To pay for his studies in America, he worked in farms, companies and hotels. He earned his BA and MA degrees from the United States. After returning from America, Jayaprakash Narayan joined the Indian National Congress in 1929. He was imprisoned in 1932 for his active participation in the civil disobedience movement against British rule. During his imprisonment in Nashik jail in 1932, he came into contact with several socialist leaders. In December 1939, as General Secretary of the Congress Socialist Party, Jayaprakash called on the people to take advantage of World War II to stop British exploitation in India and overthrow the British government. For this reason, the British imprisoned him again for 9 months. When the Quit India movement began in 1942, J.P. Narayan led movement along with Ram Manohar Lohia and Aruna Asif Ali. J.P. Narayan was arrested and imprisoned in Hazaribagh Central Jail. He escaped from prison with 6 of his comrades. J.P. Narayan actively worked underground for the independence movement. He formed Azad Dasta in Nepal to fight the atrocities of the British rule. In the early 70s, when the common people of the country were suffering from unemployment, inflation and a corrupt government system, a different side of JP was revealed. In 1974, students in Gujarat requested Jayaprakash Narayan to lead Nav Nirman movement. In June of that year, he called for a peaceful total revolution at a public meeting. For his significant role in total revolution, he earned the title of Lok Nayak. Total revolution led to emergency and formation of first non-Congress government. While imprisoned during the emergency, his health deteriorated significantly, leading to his release on 12th of November 1976. Jayaprakash Narayan died in Patna on October 1979 due to kidney failure. In 1965, he was awarded the Max Essay Award for Public Service. The Vajpayee government posthumously awarded him the country's highest civilian honour, the Bharat Ratna, in 1999. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, October 11 is also observed every year as the International Day of the Girl Child, as declared by UNICEF. It's a global occasion to honor girls around the world, to amplify their voices and to promote their leadership. Here's a report.
October 11th is celebrated annually as the International Day of the Girl Child to recognize girls and elevate their voices worldwide. The theme this year is The Girl I Am, The Change I Lead, Girls on the Front Lines of Crisis, which highlights girls' leadership in crisis situations. According to UNICEF, 122 million girls worldwide are out of school, including 34 million girls at the primary level and 87 million at the secondary. At the same time, the gender gap in global labor force participation still persists. Women's participation in the labor force is significantly lower than men, with the gap being 26% in South Asia, 20% in West Asia and North Africa, 53% in Latin America, and 59% in East Asia. With 2025 marking 3 decades since the Beijing Declaration, it is time for the world to assess whether the goals of gender equality set back then have genuinely been met. At the same time, girls around the world are stepping up to face today's biggest challenges. They are raising their voices for climate justice and demanding an end to violence globally. Today, women are confident problem solvers, striving to become self-reliant in every field. India has always prioritized welfare of girls. Schemes such as Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao and Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana have been launched nationwide. These initiatives not only aim to empower Indian women, but also ensure equal rights for them. Consequently, India has been steadily advancing its position in the Global Gender Gap Report year after year. Meanwhile, UNICEF is working with girl-led groups and networks at the global level to help create a world where girls' voices are not only heard in policy-making, programs and humanitarian response, but are also acted upon. Bureau Report, DD India.
India will host the United Nations Troop Contributing Countries UNTCC Chiefs Conclave from October 14 to 16 in New Delhi. The event will bring together over 30 military chiefs from around the world to discuss evolving peacekeeping challenges, to share best practices and to enhance future readiness. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Kyrgyzstan shared a message supporting the conclave and reaffirmed commitment to global peacekeeping efforts.
Урматтуу коллегалар, мен Индия Республикасына барып, Бириккен Улуттар Уюмунун тынчтыкты сактоо күчтөрүнө аскер бөлүктөрүн жөнөткөн өлкөлөрдүн жыйынына катышууну чыдамсыздык менен күтүп жатам. Кыргыз Республикасы 1997 жылдан бери буунун тынчтыкты сактоо операцияларына өз салымын кошуп келе жаткан сыймыктуу катышуучу. Биз бул жыйынды башка өлкөлөр менен кызматташтыкты чыңдоо, дүйнөлүк тынчтык жана коопсуздук үчүн болгон жалпы умтулуубузду бекемдөө жана буунун мандаттарын өркүндөтүү үчүн маанилүү аянтча катары карайбыз. Биздин алдыдагы талкуулар тынчтык орнотууга багытталган миссияларды колдоо үчүн туруктуу натыйжаларга алып келет деп ишенем.
The United Kingdom's Royal Navy frigate HMS Richmond arrived at Mumbai port for a scheduled visit on Friday following the successful conclusion of exercise Konkan 2025. HMS Richmond is a key component of the UK's carrier strike group, whose presence marked a major escalation in the scale of the annual bilateral exercise.
The joint naval drills between the Indian Navy and the Royal Navy wrapped up this week, having achieved a historic milestone in the two nations' defence cooperation. Speaking in Mumbai before HMS Richmond of the UK Carrier Strike Group, Minister of State Defence Lord Coker highlighted the growing strength of India-UK relations following the recent meeting between Prime Ministers Modi and Starmer. He noted that the Carrier Strike Group's welcome into Indian ports reflect the two nations' shared commitment to ensuring security and stability in the Indian Ocean.
The Carrier Strike Group was obviously something that was welcomed into Indian ports, and we're very grateful to India for that, to maintain the security of the Indian Ocean. Obviously something very important to India, but also very important to the UK.
Commodore James Blackmore, commander of the UK Carrier Strike Group, said the exercise has enhanced interoperability. He added that technology will be also a key focus in future exercises.
And it's really allowed us to further enhance our interoperability and our ability to operate and integrate as two incredible blue water carrier navies. So as we depart the region next week, I reflect on shared partnerships, shared friendships, and our incredible time working within the region.
Commander Richard Kemp, captain of the HMS Richmond, said the exercise went smoothly, highlighting the high level of coordination and professionalism.
We've had a great time operating with your Navy, conducting exercise Konkan, working with two aircraft carriers, Prince of Wales, and your newest aircraft carrier, Vikrant. A really good exercise working with your Navy, and clear to see that we have a real common language and can operate together in the Indo-Pacific, which has been fantastic.
The 2025 edition of the exercise Konkan showcased the deepening strategic partnership between the two maritime powers. The UK Carrier Strike Group, led by the colossal 65,000-ton aircraft carrier HMS Prince of Wales, joined forces with the Indian Navy's indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant. After concluding exercise Konkan 2025, HMS Richmond is here at Mumbai port. Over the years, the biennial drill has evolved into a platform which enhances interoperability and deepens the cooperation between the two countries' navy. With camera person Gaurav Kagra, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Mumbai.
Still to come here on DD India News Hour. We'll get you an expert's take on the US-China tariff war, This is round 2 of that.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Well, you're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Mark Lynn. And Professor Abhijit Das, who's the former head of the WTO Center at the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, joins us. He's an expert on international trade. Professor Das, how do the new 100% tariffs on Chinese imports impact or, reshape global supply chains? And what sectors do you think are most vulnerable?
Thank you, Mark, for having me on your show. Well, the recent announcement of President Trump really is an attempt to get ahead of China at the negotiating table. We need to recall that recently China had imposed export controls on foreign companies, whereby foreign companies would be required to get approval of the Chinese government to export products with even a small amount of rare earths. That would really hit US. So what we are seeing through the announcement by President Trump is to claw back some ground. So more than really reshaping supply chains, this is an attempt at one-upmanship. And let's bear in mind that later in this month, the two sides are set to meet at the summit level. So this is really a choreographed dance steps for getting a negotiating leverage. And earlier, if not later, we will see some of these measures being taken back.
Okay, so you're quite optimistic about that. But what impact will the port tariffs on each other's vessels have on, let's say, shipping costs, maritime trade routes, especially for third-party countries? India, Vietnam, for instance.
Oh, absolutely. This will raise the shipping costs, but eventually who bears the cost? It will be the US consumer. And if China again retaliates through its own measures, it will be the Chinese consumer. But what we've seen so far in this trade battle between the two sides is that China appears to have been more resilient in terms of facing or countering the US measures. And that is what has perhaps compelled US to act more respectfully towards China. So in a nutshell, the consumers of both sides will pay. Of course, for India, it could lead to an enhancement in its export costs, particularly to the US. But to my mind, again, the impact on Indian exports will not be very substantial, given the fact that our sea routes are a bit different.
Okay. Indeed. And are rare earth export restrictions by China, a strategic move, or would you think it's a retaliatory move? And how prepared is the US to diversify its supply sources of rare earths? Because President Trump said this was a bolt from the blue in a sense.
It's a combination of both strategic and a retaliatory move. Let's bear in mind over here that the target really is armament manufacturers who use products which contain even a small amount of rare earth. And just the way United States has invoked the security clause, security considerations for violating WTO rules and imposing huge tariffs on countries world over. Now, China is paying back the US in the same coin. China has now invoked security considerations in imposing export controls. Now, it will not be easy for the US. US is certainly very vulnerable. China has correctly identified the soft points in the US. US might want to shift its sourcing to other countries, maybe Australia, maybe Argentina, maybe Chile, but that won't happen overnight. The processing facilities are just not there in these countries as they are in China. So eventually, US is likely to bow down to the Chinese pressure on this issue.
Is this a tech Cold War, and what implications are we going to see to innovation, also global standards because of this?
Mark, you've put your finger at the right spot. What we are seeing is unfolding of the tech Cold War. Just to take our minds back a few months ago, the United States had blocked countries from selling chip-making equipment to China. And there the target was very clear. The attempt of United States was to have an adverse impact on Chinese from developing artificial intelligence systems with very advanced military capabilities. So what China is now doing in turn is using its huge processing facilities of critical minerals to hit back at US military establishments. So this really is an unfolding of the Cold War in tech terms, in the tech arena. And this is likely to deepen, and this is likely to proliferate with many different dimensions in the coming few months, unless, of course, the two sides come to some sort of a rapprochement and they have some sort of a mutual understanding on how to take back some of these measures.
So you seem to be optimistic about that rapprochement. You also talked about the Trump-Xi summit. He's threatened to cancel it, which is going to take place at the end of this month. Supposing that doesn't happen, I mean, they don't meet, it fails to produce a breakthrough. Can multilateral institutions or third parties provide some sort of alternative solutions?
At this juncture, it will be very, very difficult for third parties to meet the US demand. US is very, very critically dependent on China for processed rare earth as well as products containing rare earth. So while the proposed summit might not happen, it's quite likely that we will see some sort of a rapprochement happening. If it doesn't happen, then China gets an upper hand. It's US which is likely to suffer till a point in time when US is able to create its own processing facilities or help countries like Chile or Argentina or Bolivia to help them establish their processing facilities. But as I said, that will not happen overnight. That will take time. And till that time, if the rapprochement doesn't happen, US armament industry will suffer.
Indeed, and some journalists asked President Trump, what he could use to leverage. And he was talking about there are many things, and the big thing is aeroplanes. He says that China has a lot of Boeing aeroplanes, and they need lots of parts and lots of things like that. So, I mean, what do you think? I mean, is that a threat? I mean, after all, aviation industry is generally an American-controlled sector, largely. Of course, there is the Europeans, but they are more or less allies.
Yes, Europeans and Americans are allies. So President Trump is trying to, just the way the Chinese are looking for weak spots in the US economy and the US industry, US is doing the same with China. But at the relative level, China appears less vulnerable compared to US in this ongoing strategic Cold War, if we could call it that.
Indeed. How do you think this is going to play out in the medium term, let's say, for countries of the global south? They're not going to be impacted, you think, because whenever we talk about Cold Wars, it's ultimately the ones who rely on them for the supply chain who get affected.
Countries of the global south will certainly face collateral damage, no doubt about it. But of course, those who are rich in these critical minerals, for them, this might create an opportunity, but there would be very, very few of them. But what really compounds the problem over here is the uncertainty, the unpredictability, which the Cold War between US and China is likely to create for the global south. So no winners there, losers all around, if there is no rapprochement.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor Abhijit Das, former head of the WTA Center, IIFT, and expert on international trade. Thank you for unpacking that and helping us understand it in greater detail. Our next story, the US Ambassador Designate Sergio Gore called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi on Saturday, marking their first high-level interaction since his Senate confirmation. In a post on X, Prime Minister Modi expressed confidence that Gore's tenure will further strengthen India-US comprehensive global strategic partnership. Some global weather updates now, and the weather hasn't been kind to humanity at large across the globe. Heavy rains in Mexico have killed around 30 people, destroyed over 1,000 homes, triggered widespread flooding and landslides across 31 states. The military has been deployed, and they've deployed over 5,400 personnel to rescue and relief work. Tropical storm Jerry swept through parts of the Caribbean, disrupting power and transport in Sabah and promoting red and orange alerts across nearby islands. One death was reported due to floodwaters. In the Philippines, powerful back-to-back earthquakes in Mindanao killed at least 8 people, with hundreds of aftershocks and widespread damage reported. In Nepal, children are at the heart of a humanitarian crisis following severe floods and landslides in Madhesh province. Aid agencies stress urgent need for food, shelter and clean water in affected rural areas. At the ongoing IUCN World Conservation Congress in Abu Dhabi, India's Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Kirti Vardhan Singh, highlighted the government's integrated and climate-resilient urban development approach, positioning urbanization as an opportunity for innovation. The minister highlighted flagship schemes like the Smart Cities Mission, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, or Amrut, PM E-Bus Seva and Ujala as successful examples of climate-smart urbanization. Citing the IPCC report, the minister noted that climate-driven migration, if well managed, can strengthen economies and reduce emissions, emphasizing the importance of aligning urban planning with sustainability, resilience, and inclusive growth.
National government, extending down to the community level. We need participation of the governments and the communities and the people and the citizens, like the Honorable Mayor just mentioned so clearly. So it has to be a collaborative, a cooperative, and an inclusive push towards having a climate resilient and sustainable cities.
Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Vietnam is accelerating its green transition, aligning with ASEAN's COP26 pledge to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. Multiple innovative climate tech businesses are leading the charge by producing bio-based pallets from coconut fiber and other agricultural byproducts. These pallets, they trap up to 35 kgs of carbon each, and they are exported to markets like the United States, Europe, India and Australia. In honor of its 100th anniversary, China's Palace Museum has opened the Quanlong Garden, also known as the Garden of Tranquil Longevity, to the public, and this is for the first time. Tucked within the Forbidden City, this hidden gem was once a private retreat for Emperor Quanlong. in the Qing dynasty. It highlights the Hall of Wish fulfillment and a scaled model showcasing the garden's intricate designs. European pond turtles are being reintroduced into the Rhine River as part of a conservation effort to restore the endangered species. Around 500 turtles bred in captivity have been released over the past decade along both the French Alsace and the German Rhineland sides. So what's happened is that the black-yellow speckled turtles, they quickly adapt to their new habitat, slipping into the reeds as soon as they hit the water. Let's hope this works. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. Vedanta Delhi Half Marathon returns. 40,000 runners are expected. Global legends including are among them. They are set to hit the track on Sunday. The rare Nelu blossoms return to Sri Lanka's Horton Plains. This is after 12 years. Here's a fleeting glimpse of nature's magic. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Let's take a look at other stories making news from across our country. The Union Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav inspected the newly built Yatri Suvidra Kendra. This is at the New Delhi railway station. He did so on Sunday. Similar facilities are aimed at improving, commuter convenience. They will also be set up at 76 other stations. The minister also announced that over 10,700 special trains have been planned for Diwali and Chhath Puja. Renowned actor Deepika Padukone has been appointed as the first ever mental health ambassador by the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. The ministry stated that the collaboration aims to boost awareness, reduce stigma and strengthen the country's mental health framework under Prime Minister Modi's leadership. The Union Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports, Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, felicitated the country's medal-winning contingent from the World Para Athletics Championship 2025 in New Delhi. Notably, India delivered its best ever performance at the World Athletics, the Para Athletics Championship, finishing 10th with a record 22 medals. And continuing with more news related to sports now. Action in the ICC Women's World Cup 2025 continues to heat up. The hosts India are taking on Australia in Visakhapatnam on Sunday. Led by Harmanpreet Kaur, India will be eager to bounce back after suffering their first loss of the campaign against South Africa. But despite that setback, the women in blue remain in a strong position. They are third in the points table with 2 wins from 3 matches.
Yet another thrilling weekend is here with a lot of cricketing action as the Indian women are all set to take on the mighty Australian side at the ongoing ICC Women's Cricket World Cup. The league stage match will take place at the ACA VDCA Stadium in Visakhapatnam, where Team India recently faced South Africa. In this particular tournament, Team India comes at the back of 2 victories, one against Sri Lanka and the other against Pakistan. However, Team India lost to South Africa in their 3rd league stage encounter. On the other hand, Australia have registered heavy victories against New Zealand and Pakistan and a washout against Sri Lanka. The head-to-head favours the Australians in the ODI format, where Australia won 48 matches out of 59. However, before their World Cup outing, Team India beat Australia in the second ODI at New Chandigarh. Kranti Gaur took crucial wickets in the winning match of the second ODI between India and Australia. Not only this, Smriti Mandhana hit 2 consecutive centuries as well in the recently concluded ODI series against the Aussies.
हम लोग भी एकदम पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट से जा रहे हैं और हम लोगों ने पास्ट में भी उन लोगों के साथ मैचेस खेले हैं और उनको हराया भी है, तो मतलब कोशिश यही रहेगी कि हम लोग अपना बेस्ट दें. वी हैव बीन प्लानिंग रियली वेल और सब लोग क्लियर हैं अपने माइंड में और क्या करना है सबको क्लैरिटी है. हमने ऑस्ट्रेलिया का स्टाइल बहुत टाइम से देखा है कि वो एग्रेसिव ही आते हैं, बट ऑन द अदर हैंड हमारे प्लान्स भी बहुत ज़्यादा क्लियर हैं और जो भी हम लोग मीटिंग्स में बात कर रहे हैं, हम लोगों ने डिस्कशंस किए हैं, कुछ प्लानिंग्स करी हैं एंड लेट्स होप कि हम लोग पॉजिटिव स्टार्ट दें.
Talking about the pitch report, this is the same surface where India faced South Africa. The pitch surface at the ACA VDCA Stadium in Visakhapatnam is expected to be flat and dry, with conditions getting better for batting as the game progresses. The match becomes even more crucial because India from here needs to win at least 3 matches for strong chances to secure a semis spot.
Team India is now all set to play its 4th encounter of the ongoing ICC Women's Cricket World Cup in the league stage group match. And here, as we know, that Australia is the 7-time World Cup winner, but Team India is also no less. In the recently concluded ODI series, Team India recorded the historic victory against the Aussies, beating them by 102 runs in New Chandigarh. Now, that was the same series in which Smriti Mandhana also hit 2 consecutive centuries and Kranti Gaur took very crucial wickets. Now, let's see how Team Australia is going to perform against Team India at the ACA VDCA International Cricket Stadium, where Team DD India is currently present, and we'll get you all the latest and live reports from here. With camera person Ashish, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from Vizag.
Well, the stage is ready for the 20th edition of the Vedanta Delhi Half Marathon, set to flag off from the iconic Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium on Sunday. The half marathon will see more than 40,000 runners celebrate the spirit of running, with legendary runners from Ethiopia and Kenya also set to dominate the international event. Abhishek Prasad reports.
The stage is set for the 20th edition of the Vedanta Delhi Half Marathon, a World Athletics gold label road race scheduled to flag off on October 12th. The 2025 edition will witness over 40,000 runners from across the world come together to soak in the vibrant colors of Delhi and celebrate the spirit of running. In the men's category, Ethiopia's Birhanu Legse, a 2-time Vedanta Delhi Half Marathon winner in 2015 and 2017, will compete alongside Kenya's Bernard Biwott in the International Elite Athletes group. In the International Elite Athletes lineup, both athletes are set to participate in the long-distance race after a 6-month hiatus, primarily due to recurring knee problems. In women's section, Kenyans Lilian Kasai and Grace Lobak, along with Ethiopia's Elamedis Yau, are also competing after recovering from knee and hamstring injuries. The Indians, on the other hand, including celebrated men's middle distance runner Gulveer Singh and Abhishek Pal, will aim to overcome the 60-minute hurdle in the Indian elite lineup. While in women's section, defending champion Lily Das along with Ankita Dhyani will headline the women's lineup.
दिक्कत तो सर कुछ नहीं है, क्योंकि उसी जो ट्रैक एंड फील्ड का वर्कआउट है उसी पे करते हैं. क्या क्या थोड़ा अप डाउन होता है, क्योंकि वहाँ स्ट्राइक लगानी पड़ते हैं ट्रैक एंड फील्ड पे, इसमें शूज में करते हैं वर्कआउट. थोड़ा इसमें वर्कआउट उसमें थोड़ा स्पीड पे करते काम, इस पे एंडोरेंस पे काम करते हैं.
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है क्योंकि इस साल मेरा ठीक रहा है. लास्ट ईयर तो मैं इंजरी में पूरा बीत गया था, तो इस बार जितना कंपटीशन किया वो सब अपना पर्सनल बेस्ट, कोई बेस्ट टाइमिंग, जैसे TCS में अभी किया, कोर्स रिकॉर्ड भी किया, तो अभी इसमें कोशिश करते हैं कि और अच्छा टाइमिंग वगैरह अच्छा आ जाए. और उसके बाद जैसे बताया है गुलबीर सिंह भी है और बहुत अच्छे एथलीट हैं, तो अच्छी खासी फाइट मिलेगी देखने को, रेस इंटरेस्टिंग रहेगी देखने के लिए.
Earlier, legendary 9-time Olympic gold medalist Carl Lewis lit up the pre-event with an electrifying press conference in New Delhi. Lewis, who is the international event ambassador for the event, shared his excitement while also motivating participants with the words that capture the transformative power of sport.
No, I'm excited about it. It's interesting. I've been to this event before, and to be back here to see the change and the social, with whether it's women, the cultural, the environmental changes are just incredible, and I think it's just a wonderful event for India, really for anywhere in the world. I'm excited to be back.
The Vedanta Delhi Half Marathon is a platform where India's best athletes compete alongside the world's best for the top honors. With all-time track and field great Kalvis in attendance, the Indians would like to showcase their skills before the legend.
Come October 12th, Delhi will once again wake up to the rhythm of running shoes and cheers of the crowd as the 20th edition of Vedanta Delhi Half Marathon kicks off. From seasoned champions to first-time runners, everyone will be chasing one goal: to cross the finish line. With cameraman Anil Thakur, Abhishek Prasad for DD India.
FIFA President Gianni Infantino visited Ottawa in Canada to meet the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and discuss preparations for next year's FIFA World Cup. Infantino presented the Prime Minister with a ticket for the opening game in Toronto next summer, and he thanked him for his support as a co-host of the tournament. Canada will be hosting 13 of the matches next summer, along with co-hosts Mexico and the United States. Carney said that all of Canada is excited and honored to be part of the World Cup, as he presented Infantino with a sculpture of a football during his visit to Canada's parliament.
The whole of Canada, the whole of the country has to participate, has to be part, has to feel being part of it, with fan zones everywhere, with celebrations everywhere, with schools being involved in programs. So we want the whole country to feel this.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, and we're going to leave you with images of the rare Nilu blossoms painting Sri Lanka's Horton Plains in vibrant shades after 12 long years. Nature once again reminds us of its timeless magic. Hope you enjoy. Take a look. Namaskar. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.